Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Woo Curious podcast. Your map to the mystical, your key to the sacred, and your guide back home to yourself. I'm Eileen, a writer, a spiritual coach, energy healer, and slow living witch. This podcast is your invitation to explore a world where the mundane and the sacred intertwine. It's a haven for those ready to take the first steps into the realms of magic and mystery, providing a safe space for you to embark on your own enchanted journey towards healing and self-discovery. Here, I'll unveil the whispers of the mystical, the rituals often hidden in plain sight, and I'll engage in sacred conversation intended to stir your soul and lead you back into your power. I'm all about demystifying woo and witchcraft. So, whether you're a seasoned seeker or simply woo curious, I'm so delighted you've decided to join me on this journey. Let's make magic. Hey Woo Crew, Eileen here. Is there a whispering inside you that life is meant for more magic, more embodied meaning, more connection with your intuition? If so, I want to invite you on a journey. I am once again opening the doors to Unleash Your Inner Witch, a beginner's course in witchcraft for the woo curious. Over the course of 6 weeks, we'll gather in small, intimate circle so you can explore tools like ritual, tarot, crystals, pendulum use, communing with your ancestors, connecting with spirit guides, altar building, cyclical living, and more. It's not about doing all the things. This course is really about coming home to yourself, trusting your inner knowing, weaving simplicity into daily magic. It's a way of being in the world. And whether you already feel drawn to magic but haven't been sure how to practice it, maybe you're curious but skeptical, or maybe you're a seasoned practitioner but you want to deepen your connection with self and in community, this container is for you. We'll meet live once a week for 6 weeks to connect. All calls are, of course, recorded in case you can't attend live. The group is small, maximum 12 women, to keep things intimate and safe. You get a workbook, you get a group chat to stay connected, and lifetime access to these recordings. If you're ready to step into more enchantment, deeper trust in yourself, and a life touched by ritual and meaning, I'd be honored to walk with you. The doors are open. Head on over to myluminouslife.ca/unleashyourinnerwitch to learn more and to sign up. Let's unleash your inner witch together. Hello, Woo Crew, and welcome back to another episode of the Woo Curious podcast. I am your host, Eileen, and I'm here today with Aumatma Simmons. Dr. Aumatma is a double board certified naturopathic endocrinologist, say that 5 times fast, who discovered that her greatest breakthrough came not from speaking louder, but from learning to listen deeper. After nearly 20 years in practice, she evolved from fertility expert to intuitive leadership guide, teaching high achievers to trust the wisdom that their bodies already hold. Dr. Aumatma founded the Holistic Fertility Institute, supporting couples to create families through natural approaches, and has trained hundreds of doctors in fertility specialization. She's the best-selling author of Fertility Secrets, What Your Doctor Didn't Tell You About Baby Making, host of the award-winning podcast Egg Meets Sperm, definitely go check that out, and co-founder of the Madre Fertility, the world's first smart fertility analysis app. Her journey from clinical expertise to inner wisdom culminated in her transformative approach, Lead with Silence. Through this methodology, she helps leaders, especially women, shift from exhaustive overthinking to inspired, sustainable decision-making, rooted in body wisdom and intuitive knowing. Featured on ABC, Fox, CBS, KTLA, Mind Body Green, and The Bump, Dr. Aumatma's recent TED Talk explores how silence became her superpower. She bridges ancient wisdom with modern neuroscience, showing audiences how to access their inner intelligence for authentic leadership and purposeful living. Her mission has expanded from creating healthier babies to creating healthier leaders, those who trust their inner knowing to make decisions that serve not just themselves, but the world. Welcome, Dr. Aumatma. Thank you for coming onto the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Eileen.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. And, reading through your bio again, as I did just now, there's so many ways in which our mission and our message are aligned in the combining of neuroscience and spirituality and listening inward, going silent to be able to hear. And so, as I mentioned when we were just getting ready to drop into this session today, I really love starting with a discussion of my guest's spiritual journey, because for listeners, they'll know that for me, I always had a curiosity, I think, but I really shoved it down for a long time. I was raised without religion. I was very science heavy, like, you got to show me some facts and prove it, or I don't believe it's even possible. And
Yeah.
my journey into the more kind of woo side of things started happening about 4 years ago now, and has really informed the work that I do. So I would love to hear a little bit about your own experience with spirituality and how it informs the work you do.
Mhm. It's such a good question, and I feel like I've done so many podcast interviews. It's crazy to me that this is the first time anybody's ever asked me this question. So,
Mm.
I love it.
Yay,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, and I consider myself super woo. So, for me, the journey started really early on in life, honestly. I was 14 when I first meditated, and even prior to that, in retrospect now, I'm like, I was always intuitive. I've always been in touch with my intuition,
Mhm.
but I didn't always trust it. And
Mhm.
that has been a long journey. So I feel like, I started with the meditation in my 20s. I spent a year at a monastery in complete silence, not talking to anyone.
Wow.
Um,
That's a long time.
Yeah, yeah, for a year to not talk, and on top of it, during that time, learned a different language, and my brain shifted to that language. So when
Mm.
I left the monastery, I literally would hear people speak English, I would convert it to that language, like, have a response in my head, and then convert it back into English. So it was such a slow response time that most people would be like, "Okay, any day," and I was just like, "Hold on one moment." It was the weirdest thing that my brain just shifted into a whole new language, and English felt like it was a second language.
Wow.
So that was a really interesting experience. But along this journey, it was my intuition that led me into the fertility work that I started doing. I had already been a naturopathic doctor at that point, for 5 years, and, I was married to this man, and he wanted to start trying for children, and anytime he talked about children, my uterus was just screaming, "No, no,
Mm.
no," and I was like, "This is the weirdest thing ever." Like, I chose this person, I
Yeah.
married this person, I committed for a lifetime. What is happening? Like, I can't not have children. I think I wanna have children, and it led me back into this whole world of really listening and, like, hearing what my body was saying about children was one of the most disorienting experiences because it was extremely loud. When I reflected back, so long story short, I did have a divorce. I eventually found the right partner, have a child now. But when I look back at that time period, and I was with this person for 10 years,
Mm.
and over that course of time, my periods were the worst that they ever had been. My body was in tremendous amounts of pain. I had at some point within that time period, I had had a headache that just wouldn't go away no matter what I did, and it lasted for about 9 months. Mm,
Yes.
so, like, all of these things that sound like little things,
Mhm.
but my body was screaming, "What are you doing?" And
Mhm.
every single time I, like, overpowered it. And this is the first time I'm sharing this, but I was in, like, a woo-woo spiritual school at the time. I call it intuition training grounds.
Yeah.
It was literally, like, training your intuition, and the teacher there knew me so well, and he randomly came up to me out of nowhere, out of the blue. This is not a teacher that I see every single week. It
Mhm.
was just he's like the head of the school, and he's like, "Hey, are you getting married?" And this is 2 months before my wedding. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm getting married." "Why do you know that?" And he's like, "It came to me while I was meditating. Please don't marry this man." And I
Wow.
was like, "What?" And I literally my heart was crushed. Like, here I am about to get married in 2 months,
Mhm.
and this man is literally like, "This is the worst thing you can ever do." And I was like, "You're crazy. It's because 'cause you're not in a relationship. You're way out there. Whatever. I'm not listening to you." And I quit the school because I wanted to marry this person. So, like, so many points throughout that period of time that I was with him, there were lots of red flags, and there were
Mhm.
lots of points where my body, my intuition, my teacher's intuition, everything was just going, "This is not the right person for you." And
Mhm.
yet I chose to override it. And I'm very grateful for that experience because during that time period, I also sank to the deepest level of burnout, the
Mhm.
worst place that I've ever been in my life. But what it showed me was that the way out was with listening to my body, listening to intuition, and like working with all of those things to get to the other side. So I owe that person so much of what my life has looked like for the last 15 years
Mhm.
because being with him was the start of all of that,
Yeah.
and apparently I needed to experience it.
Yeah. Oh, I this story is so powerful, and I'm sure it's resonating for listeners and very personally resonating for me as well. My marriage, my first and only marriage, I didn't remarry, but my marriage, I started getting heartburn, and I'd never had it before. My mom was like, "I only get heartburn when I'm stressed," and I was like, "I'm not stressed," and it got worse and worse and worse, and I was on prescription medication for it, and it was one of those things of my body was screaming and
Mhm.
telling me like this is you're not okay. This is not okay. You can't keep doing this. And it disappeared entirely when I finally again made that leap. And I'm so grateful for the experience and the relationship because it again, yeah, it set me on the path and it made me who I am today. And it
Mhm.
was a perfect example of how powerful our intuition is and
Yeah.
how willfully we can ignore it.
Yeah, yeah, and you literally, like, had a fire in your belly. That
Mhm.
was like, "No."
My heart was burning. And I was
Yeah,
like, "No, this is fine, I'm fine." And so
right.
I'm curious if there was something or an experience or a tool or something that helped you on the road to starting to actually listen and trust that intuition.
Um, I feel like there's a lot of things. Like, one was finding this it's a system called BodyTalk,
Mhm.
and like a spin-off of it is called Body Intuitive, and it's 2 systems that I ended up studying in for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
But they basically are the bridge between the body and the mind. So, having a feedback loop and being able to channel my intuition in a way that's like, "Yes or no. Give me a yes or no." Like, make
Yeah,
it super
super
simple.
simple.
Some of the ways in which they do that just makes it a lot simpler than what I've ever experienced otherwise, right?
Mhm.
So, I went to the woo-woo spiritual school for 7 years, that was amazing. I learned amazing things. It wasn't a system that I could
Right.
use in my life.
Yeah.
Now, the body talk system is just so easy. And when I met my now husband, he would see me do this, and I don't know if we'll be on camera when people are watching this, but I'm
Yeah,
basically, like, swiping my fingers across each other,
right, like
and
muscle
that's
testing.
it's sorta like muscle testing,
Yeah.
yeah, and you can ask yes or no questions and get the feedback, and I would be in the corner doing that while he's asking me questions, and I'm like, "Yes or no, yes or no." And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, just checking something." And I didn't want him to think I was crazy, so I would just be, like, in hiding about it for so long,
Right.
and then finally told him about it, and he's like, "Oh, that's cool. I have my own version of that." And I was like, "What?" And he's got stronger intuition than I think I have, and he doesn't have a tool that he uses, he just knows, and he's like, "Yes or no. I just know." Right?
Mm.
And if it's a no, and he's not gonna do it. For me, it's like, "Oh, it's a no, but can it be a yes? Because I really wanna see that person."
Right, yeah. I think in
So
a lot of ways that, like, that story feels like encapsulates a bit of, and obviously not blanket experiences, but women have explicitly been taught not to trust or follow our intuition
mhm,
from a very
mm,
young age, right? To
yeah,
be not to be emotional, to be rational, and
yeah,
I think that men often, are more confident in themselves and their choices because they've been told they should and can be from a very young age, and so,
mhm,
yeah, that's an interesting awareness to have of, like,
mhm.
also that desire to have the outcome or the answer be different than what it is. I resonate with that deeply for sure as well.
Yeah, and I feel like I go through that still to this day, you know? There are some things that I will see the intuition and I'm like, "But I really just want to do this thing." Or, "Yeah, I know this is not good for me, but I still want to."
Yeah.
And and I feel like that's okay too, you know? Like, I've come to a place where I'm like, life is too short. So, if I go against my better judgment, if I go against my intuition, it's okay to be like, "Let's just see what happens."
Mhm.
And sometimes I will go against my intuition and nothing happens, like, it's okay. It wasn't a make it or break it situation that was gonna cause problems. In
Yeah.
other times, I'll have intuition. This was early this year. I was going to drive like 45 minutes to this conference, and I don't know what it was. Like, I was very intent on going to this conference. The intuition that I had on that was like it was the right place for me to be. But I woke up that morning and I was like, something is off. And I couldn't
Mm.
figure out what was off. And I did what I normally do, which is meditate and got in the right space and all of that. And then I got on the road and I was driving and I'm thinking, driving. And all of a sudden, this truck has a piece spin off from his truck and it
Mhm.
flew under my car.
Ooh,
And my car is, like, swerving all different ways, and he pulled over, I pulled over after him. Nobody got hurt, right? It was, not a big deal, but it was
scary though.
just yeah, it was a little scary,
Yeah.
and he was very nice about it and was like, you know, like, "We have insurance, they'll fix it, it's not a problem." But I think to that moment and been like, "What could I have done differently that would have maybe shifted this experience?" Because I knew something was gonna happen that day.
Mhm.
And granted, maybe the space that I was in, it wasn't as bad as it could have been,
Mm.
but I knew something was off. I didn't fully know how to make sense of that feeling. And I overrode it with, "Well, it's just nerves," or, "I'm nervous till I go." I ended up being, like, 3 hours late to this thing that said, "We're gonna start right on time," and they're messaging me like, "You're late. There's only 10 people in this room." Like, it was very noticeable that I walked in 3 hours late,
Right.
and I was like, "Well, it just couldn't be controlled," and I gotta, like, just be okay with that. So, it was an experience that I look back on and say, "Huh, like, here's my intuition, it's telling me something, but I don't know how to process it and filter it through to just be late. Like, don't
Mhm.
wake up early and, like, be okay with being late and not have that experience at all. That could have been an
Mhm.
option."
Mhm.
So, I think that that also is happening for so many women. It's like, we
Right.
have this little inkling, it's happening, like, something is going on at the back of our minds or our intuition or whatever. Like, I know that something is off, yet I don't know what to do about it. And
Mhm.
in those moments, what would you choose? What could you
Mhm.
choose?
Mhm.
So those are some of the things that I like to sit with and contemplate on, and just be like, in those moments, our intuition is tapping into something
Mhm.
that we're not fully hearing. And then in other moments, we're overriding our intuition, which, like you said so eloquently, like we're
Yeah.
taught not to listen.
Yeah.
And we're taught to like shut up and don't talk, and like, you don't know anything, or you're just emotional. It's your emotions. And so much of our frequency is being wrote off as emotion when it maybe isn't emotion. It's actually our mind, body, spirit saying, hey,
Yeah.
something's not right. Something's out of alignment here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true, and even if it is emotion, I think there is a piece of intuitive knowing that is emotional in that it's felt in a way that the
Mhm,
rational is not felt, it's conceptualized, it's
mhm.
thought. And
Yeah.
then the intuition is felt, and there it has this kind of connection to that emotional response. And sometimes the two align, and those are the times when it's really easy to follow your intuition, but you've
Mhm,
spoken to it really well, that sense of like, okay, what could I have done differently? And then what kind of like voices or naysayers, internal and external, am I going to have to defend myself from if I make a
mhm.
decision right now that seems completely irrational? And then
Yeah,
what if,
absolutely.
if you had decided to leave an hour later and be late, you would never have known what you had avoided. And so there would be no, like, quote, again, proof that you made the right decision for anyone who
Right,
was like, why are you late? How do you defend yourself? And it's a
right.
really tough part of starting to listen to your intuition and trust it
Yeah.
and follow it and act from it, especially in the world that we live in.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. That helps me actually just be like, the point at which I can stand in my truth and be like, this is just what my intuition told me to do, or this
Mhm,
was the decision I needed to make, which was best for me without
mhm.
any judgment towards it,
Mhm.
will be the day that I'm like, okay, I have arrived.
Right, yeah. And in the
For sure.
meantime, you continue practicing and
Yeah.
helping other women practice that too. I'm so curious about so much of your work. I don't know if you know, I was a midwife prior to embarking on this
Oh,
journey,
no
so
way. No, I don't
yeah.
know.
So the fact that you are a fertility expert was immediately interesting to me. It's part of why I was like, "Yes, let's have you on and chat," because it feels like we have some past that's aligned as well. I'm really
Yeah.
curious if your experience with and your understanding of intuition is something that I know you weave it into your work now. It's very much focused around that leadership piece that you do now. But I'm curious how you used it or wove it into your fertility work as well.
Mhm. So, it showed up in a lot of ways. One is a little bit woo.
That's what we're
Uh,
here for.
very appropriate for
Bring
this
on the
topic.
woo.
Um, it would show up as intuition that I was maybe not the right person to support specific couples that I met
Mm.
along the way.
Mhm.
And that was a tough one because there were lots of couples that were like, "You're my only hope.
Mm.
Like, I need your help." And my intuition was just like, "Absolutely not.
Mhm.
Don't do that." And I, like, didn't have a tangible reason why, right? I couldn't be like, "Well, I can't because XYZ." So, it was just on me to be like, I gotta stand in my truth. But I had lessons along the way. So there are some really funny stories. One, it was a couple that I got really strong intuition, like, absolutely not. And I didn't listen to that. And I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, come on, like, that doesn't make any sense." So I took them on anyway. And usually in my practice, we've had lots of guys that will half-ass it in the
Mm.
program.
Mhm.
So as a couple, between the 2 of them, often the guys are like, you know, I'm gonna, like, lackadaisical approach through
Mhm.
ge getting pregnant. In this case, it was the woman, and
Mm.
she was a nurse that worked the night shift, which I'm sure you might have come across some of this, is like makes it very hard for you to get pregnant if
Yeah.
you're doing the night shift. And I had already said to her in the initial conversation before accepting them as clients, I was like, listen, your work shift is not going to be supportive of your fertility goals. You're going to temporarily probably need to shift today.
Mhm.
And she was like, okay, yeah, yeah, no problem. We start working together. 6 months later, she's still working the night shift,
Mm.
and her hormones are not getting in alignment. She's not following the food plan. She's not taking her supplements. "Oh, I forgot. Oh, I didn't order it. Oh, I don't have it yet. Oh, I don't have the money." Right? Like millions of excuses along the way. And after about 6 months, I called them together
Mhm.
and I was like, listen, we've been working together for 6 months. This is completely like we're way past the point at which I would pull the plug. And I love you guys, but it's time to pull the plug. Like, I
Mhm.
am not the person that's going to get you there because you guys are not listening to what I'm
Mhm.
saying. And she's on the floor crying and like, how could you do this to us? And
Yeah.
like, just going through it, and her husband is, like, cussing me out, like, "We've been with you for 6 months and blah, blah, blah," and I was like, "Listen, yes, you've been with me for 6 months, but you haven't done the work that would be required for 6 months of being with me.
Mhm.
So, no, I do not accept this as an excuse. We are done. Our relationship is complete. I have given you everything that I can give you. It's
Mhm.
time for us to say goodbye, and I do wish you guys the best. I hope that you have a child, but
Mhm.
I I'm not gonna be able to get you there."
Mhm.
And I still remember this is like 15 years ago,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
it's that impactful because, like, it was just one of the hardest conversations I've had.
Yeah.
But that to me was, "Damn it, I should have just listened to my intuition."
Yeah.
Like, my intuition was spot on from the beginning. It was a hell no. I should have listened,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, it's a
And then
powerful learning, and I think that especially for those of us in helping professions of any kind,
yeah,
it's
we just
that
wanna help
those are the
everybody.
hardest times, yeah, when you're like, Why is this a no? Why is this a
Right.
like, there's something there."
Yeah.
And it's a powerful thing to be able to stand in your integrity and say, I don't think this is a good fit. And I think we all have to learn that the hard way.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
so good that you had that, like, "No, I'm doing it anyway. Okay, here's why here's why it said
right,
no." To
right.
have that really solid example for yourself, or, like,
Yeah,
lived embodiment of why your intuition was right.
yeah, and it helped me stop not listening.
Right.
Like, after that, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna listen to this," because, like, who wants to have those tough clients that don't listen to you, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be successful when you're half-assing it.
Mhm.
So, why waste our time with that when you could be helping people that actually need your help? So,
Mhm.
over the 15 years that I've been doing fertility, I've been able to keep filtering out and keep filtering away the wrong clients
Mhm.
because it is I think it's just so, mm, weird to say yes and then not be able to help someone, and you want to. You wanna do
Mhm.
everything that you can for your people, but
Mhm.
sometimes they're not your people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
not the
that has
truth.
been an important lesson.
Yeah.
And then intuition has also played a big part in guiding so much of this treatment strategy, and the way that I show up for people is like, hey, let's figure out what lab tests and let's figure out what supplements and let's figure this out. And the truth is that there's a lot of research, and that research can sometimes lead practitioners astray in the sense of like, but this is what the research says, and this should really work.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the number of times I've been like, yeah, that's just not the truth though.
Yeah.
And following my intuition over bodies of research that are okay, but they're so generic and they don't apply to the person in front of me. And I think that it makes me a better practitioner because I can be like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to
Yeah.
go this direction.
That's I think that's such a powerful thing to be able to do in any kind of care providing work, but especially in kind of more medical sides of things. It's part of why I left midwifery was because I didn't have the freedom to follow my
Right.
intuition often because of the threat of lawsuit. If I didn't stick to the books and say what
Yeah.
was, backed up by all of the studies and recommended, if I happened to say, I actually don't think you need this, and there was a bad outcome, my ass is on the line. And it was so hard and so frustrating when there were times when I'm like, yeah, you do actually. I think this is the safest route. And there were other times when I wanted to be ignore all of my advice right now. Like, don't do anything, but like, everything is fine. I know it's fine to the bottom of my toes. I know everything is just going to be fine. And you can't say it.
Mhm.
And I often joke, when the apocalypse comes, I'll be a midwife again. No problem. No problem. I couldn't practice inside of the legal model of the
Medical system.
midwifery.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard, and I feel like that is happening with women across the board, right? Like, of course, in the medical profession, there's this huge legalization threat,
Mhm,
but even in standard work culture, it's
mhm.
like, well, no, you're supposed to do it this way. And your
Yeah,
intuition is like, no, but if I do it this way, I'll save 30 hours and have a better outcome, and the client is going to be happier. Yet
right.
your boss is the man who's like, no, you have to do it this way because we've done it that way for 100 years. And
Mhm.
so often those boxes don't fit. And
Yeah.
part of what has led me into this leadership workspace is really noticing that we as women, like you said, we've been shut down for so long. We often don't even realize that we have intuition and that we can connect to it,
Mm,
or we're getting these intuitive hits and we can't listen to it. We don't know how it fits into the box.
mhm,
And then so much of the fertility work that I've been doing is how do we access the feminine and how do we keep the feminine alive in our lives every single day, not just
mhm,
when we want to get pregnant, but
mhm.
how do we not fall into the masculine way, the masculine cycle of the 24-hour clock and their
Right.
rhythm,
Yeah,
but like live in our rhythm of 28 days.
yeah.
And uh, so my hope, my goal is really like awakening women to this like power that we have within us and within our cycles to really access this intuition, and then to have the corporate culture become more aligned with the the female cycle woven into the fabric.
Yeah.
That's my super.
That's
That
your,
would
like,
be
big dream goal. Amazing. And so when you work with women, both in fertility and in leadership, I imagine there's a lot of crossover and kind of,
yeah.
like you said, that divine for that feminine energy piece is so important. How how do you work with women? How do people come work with you? Who seeks you out? Share a little bit more explicitly about the work you do and how people can, work with you.
So we have the one side, which is the fertility people, and those like we still have the practice, and I have a whole team of women that help support couples that are going through fertility stuff.
Mhm.
So that's option A. And then option B, which is where my heart is right now, is really the entrepreneurs, CEOs, C-suite executives, like all the people that are like, "Hey, the way that I've been doing things is killing my heart.
Mhm.
What can we do about it?" And those are the people that I wanna help. And right now, it's just one-on-one. So, as people reach out and want to work together, the way we do stuff is like I have sessions with them that are intuitively led. So they
Mhm.
come with their questions. We figure out what's their body's intuition wisdom about it.
Mm.
So I'm still using a lot of that body talk knowledge that
Right.
I gained and and then getting them present to like, okay, where does this not fit? How could you shift your approach? Like, how do you make it work for you still
Mhm.
within the system if your choice is not to leave?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's really powerful work too, and so important. My email sign off is "Rested women will change the world." And it feels like, that's that
Oh
kind of
my
mirror,
god.
that sense of it, like, it's okay to soften, it's okay to
Yeah.
rest, it's okay to take time, it's okay to listen to that intuition, and women who are in that kind of embodied, empowered state really will be the ones to change the world, and I love that you're working with those women who are already in leadership positions to be able to show that change as well and have an example or a model for the women who are not at the top, and I'm quotations there for anyone not watching, of the corporate ladder. I mean, our world is run by corporations, and so if we have women, empowered, embodied, feminine women, soft and strong at the top, it really will be the change this world needs.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then actually I have some male clients who are CEOs, like owners of really big businesses that
Mhm.
want to bring this change into their companies.
Yes,
So
we need them
they're like,
too.
"Oh, I have a whole team of women. What do I do with these women? What should
Yeah.
we do? How do we access their superpowers?" So I think it's really amazing that we're living in a world where men are getting woke up to the fact that men and women are different. But if we're able to understand what those differences are and utilize them in a way that helps move humanity forward, then I think we're
Mhm.
all working together towards the same goal. And I
Mhm.
do think that's possible. I think it's amazing. Like the men that I talk to and get to talk to that are like, "This is amazing. Women are so powerful. How do I support this?"
Yeah.
I love I
Oh, it's
absolutely
like
love that.
so much hope hearing that, knowing that that is true, and that there are men who are secure enough in themselves too, that they're like, "Okay, let's not even the playing field, let's create spaces where we can both flourish and thrive." And those are going to be slightly different spaces because we both bring, and I mean along the spectrum of gender too, we all bring something to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any last words or any last bits of wisdom that you'd like to share with listeners before we wrap up?
Mm. Trust yourself, trust your body, trust your wisdom. Like, you have it within you already. There's nothing that I have that you don't, right? You know yourself best, and
Mhm.
finding the trust with that is what we need. We all need
Yeah.
it, right? I'm saying it more to myself than anybody else.
We teach what
Trust
we
your
need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that. I like to say, "Let yourself be right," and that's
yeah.
the same kind of
Oh, I love
sentiment,
that.
so trust
Yeah.
yourself. And for those who are wanting to connect with you, this will all be in the show notes as well, but where is the best place to find you?
The best place is Instagram at holistic fertility doctor. You can be in my DMs and say, "I'm not looking for fertility support. I'm looking for the C-suite executive entrepreneur support." That's all good. I just have one place that everyone goes. So,
Makes it easy. Lovely.
yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much for being my guest today on the Woo Curious podcast. It was really a pleasure to chat. I feel like we could probably talk for hours. This is always a sign of a good a good connection between me and a guest, is that's like, oh, there's
Yeah.
so many more places we could have gone, but I really
Yeah,
appreciate our conversation.
I appreciate it so much. This was awesome. I appreciate talking to you and just all of the synergies and like, oh, the magic.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
love it.
Totally.
Thank
Well,
you
thank
for
you
having
so much. You're welcome. And yeah, for our listeners, please go find Dr. Autama on Instagram. Please, yeah, follow her, say hi. If you like this episode, as always, like, subscribe, rate, review, share, whatever, all the things, depending on the platform that you're on. It helps ever so much. And I will be back here with you this time next week. Bye for now.